Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video I'll be showing you this effect, and you can see that this effect is really cool. I've been thinking of how I can create this effect for a while now, but I didn't really have time to do it. But now I did, and I'm going to show you exactly how I made this effect. So now when I open a fresh Blender scene, first of all I want to tell you that I use water simulation in Blender to do that effect, and it's matter flow. And I want to show you just a basic setup of matter flow before we get started. Okay, so let me just start with a basic setup. So let's have our flow source. This is our flow source. Then I drag it up a bit here. Okay, now this is our flow source, so we need a container, so we can just add a domain for it. So let's add a cube, scale it to overtake this. You can see, and our flow source must be inside this domain. So let me scale down a bit. This is just a reference. Okay, now let's go here into the physics simulation here. Now we need to click on fluid. Now we set this to domain. Okay, so click on this. This is our flow source. Click here, click on fluid, then you should flow, then you change it from smoke to liquid and from geometry to inflow. Alright, so this is a basic setup for this effect. Okay, when I play you can see that there's nothing really going on here. So let me just go back, click on this. Now when you come down into this domain settings, you can turn on, you can see that this is gas. Click on it and change it to liquid. Okay, so now when you play this, you can see that there's nothing really going on also. So let's click on this mesh and change it from play to all, so we can able to cache this simulation. Okay, nothing's happening, so let's just click on cache, click on resumable, because we are not going to cache it all through, just for reference. Then I free the break. You can see we have a water simulation here. Now you can see that to create the water simulation is really simple, but to make it in the VFX form, that's where the trick is. You can see that I cut the water into two, and this stick here. Okay, so I'm going to show you exactly how I do this effect. So I'm going to click on this. I want to show you something before I continue. So I'm going to free this bake. So when you look here, you can see where this is. You can see a tiny cube here. This cube is like a voltage that tells our simulation this is the size of it. And when you come up here, you can see the definition, like the resolution definition of this. So when you just, what I normally do is I multiply by 2, x2. You can see that I do that, this became smaller, smaller. So when I just increase again, x2 again, that I multiply by 2, and you can see the dimension. So when you increase the resolution, you will have a more like a realistic water simulation, and it will be more believable. Okay, so this is a preview. So let's start with the VFX. So I'm going to delete this. So we delete the big, we delete everything. Now when you are doing VFX, you have to set up everything properly, because that's very important. If you don't set up your scene properly, you won't have a good final output for your VFX. So when you record your footage, I have already recorded my footage, and I've already tracked it, so I'm not going to do a tracking tutorial. You can see the camera view, and when I play this, you can see that this is a tracked camera. There's something, a plane back there, and also for here I have a track scene, which is very important in something like this. Okay, so what I need to do is recreate everything I'm seeing on this. You can see to create the tab and also for the base. So I'm going to create also this wall and do a little something here. Alright, now that I finished recreating the geometry for this scene, Now we can start setting up our simulation. You can see that geometry is working well and the tracking is good. Okay, so now to begin with the simulation, you can see here I've already tried this place. So to set that up at the top, so I'm going to add something there. Let me just add a cylinder. Okay, so I'm going to drag it here, because if when you look at this is the edge where the tracking marker is. So sometimes you guys made a mistake and you just leave it in the middle, and that's not the right place. It's okay. So I'm just going to scale this down a bit, then drag it back. Okay, I'm going to rotate this, then okay, so alright, so this is it. So when I play this, it will stick there because that's the exact location where it should be. So you can see that it's sticking. Okay, so next thing is to add a source, which is the flow source for the water simulation. I'm going to add it here to here, and I'm going to drag it, scale it a bit, not too big, but this side should be fine. Okay, and this is all what you need for our simulation to work. You can see from the side here, this is not fine. So I'm going to drag it back to the center like so. Sometimes it's very difficult to align things properly. You just have to take your time and do it. Okay, this should be fine. Alright, that's our flow source for the water, and I'm going to add our domain. Shift A, add a cube, then scale it up. Okay, so it doesn't have to be way too big like this, because I'm going to resize it. What we need is this sink and also for the tap. So I'm going to drag this down a bit. You can see something like here, should be fine. So now let's go to the physics. You can see that this footage starts from 25. I'm going to drop it back to 1 because of the simulation. Okay, so I'm going to drag it here, then select the fluid. Now set it as the domain. So for this, which is our source, sorry, fluid, flow, then change from smoke to liquid, and from geometry to inflow. Then click on this, set it from flow to liquid. Alright, I'm going to click on the mesh because we want the mesh and all and resumable. So now we can start doing the cache for our simulation. Okay, click on this, and this should be the effector. Okay, let me just redo it for you, then select this fluid, then effector. That's all what you need to do. And because this is a flat surface, it doesn't have any bevel, or not bevel, doesn't have any solidify, any thickness to it. So I'm going to click on this, it is planar. So just note that you have to also click on this, unless it might not work properly. So now let's bake. I'm not going to let this wait until bake finish, so I will come back when it's done. I don't want to take a lot of your time. Now the bake is done, so let's play this to see what exactly we are getting from there. It seems that this is not working, and you can say that it's not working. It's actually working, but the particles are too small, so that's why it's not showing anything. So what we are going to do is to free this bake once again, then come to the resolution here, then multiply it times 2 and times 2. So when you get to 128, you see that will work. So bake. Now the simulation is going to take a lot of time to bake now, so we have to be patient. Okay, now let's stop this simulation then and see what we are doing. So let's press escape. Okay, now you can see that we have a water simulation, and this is really working properly, as you can see. Now we can press the shade smooth to smooth out everything else in the scene, and you can see that it is working fine. But now you have the idea of how you can do this effect. So now this is just a proper way of doing it. So let's dive in and let's see how we can cut out this water. Okay, so now let's check in the frame we cut out the water. Then we cut the water from frame 97. Okay, let's free this break. So we are going to do a lot of frame break on this. So let's go to the flow. Now we want to animate this flow. From frame 97 we don't want this to flow anymore, so we can still tweak the settings a bit, but let's do it this way right now. So I'm going to click on this animation key, then I'm going to go back to frame, then click here again. So I'm going to go to the next frame, then uncheck the animation, and now what's happened is that we have flowing water here. From here the water should stop flowing. Okay, so now let me just check, because I've done this so many times. So let me check my file to see exactly the frame where I supposed to cut out this. Okay, now the second frame should start from frame 74. So I'm going to drag this keyframe to frame 74, which should work properly now. So, and I'm going to end the bake around frame 200. Let me just end the bake from frame 200. So I'm going to set up it. So I'm going to click here, then change it to 200. So this is just for the tutorial. In my normal video I actually set it to 250 and I leave it like that. So let's just leave it to 200 and bake this simulation. Okay, now it has finished baking. You can see that we have our water simulation. Now when you play this from here, this is exactly how it looks like. And when it's cut, you can see when you cut the water, you can see exactly, yes, this is the exact frame. You cut the water out and it is working fine. Okay, so the next thing to do now is to add something to represent the water once again. And when I just click here, I can add a cylinder. I will scale it down to the size of the water, then align it to the water here, and I'm going to just to modify it a bit, exactly like something like this. I'm going to press E to extrude down, S to scale it down a bit also. Okay, so when you just scroll down to see exactly where it cuts the water, you can see that we are almost there. Cuts the water, so I'm going to extrude a bit, E, then scale it down. Press E again and scale it down, just to have something really going on here. Okay, now I can just select the top, just press E again, scale it down, E, scale it down. Okay, now we have something like this. Now I'm going to go to the modifier here, add the subdivision. I'm going to add a smooth and put it to 2. I'm now going to add displacement. Press new, click here, change it to cloud. I'm going to go back to the modifier, then reduce the strength almost 0. Yeah, something like this should be fine. Okay, so now I'm going to go to do the shading. Okay, so now I'm going to the shading tab. As you can see that the water is always white, and you have to click here, assign the shading to it. So let me just, okay, what I did was to assign it on this one, but you can, let me just do it again, assign on this. We just got this water. Alright, and I'm going to click here to go to the render view. Okay, I'm going to choose my cycles, then change it to GPU. Like I showed you guys, this is a fast rendering computer, and you can see the playback is really fast, and I can turn on the noise, and you can see that everything is working really fine. I'm not even feeling any lag from here, you can see. Okay, so I'm going to add a water shader to this. I'm going to increase this transmission to full, and I'm going to reduce the roughness because there's no way water will be rough. Okay, so I'm going to shift. Okay, now it's showing up, and you can see that the water is a bit dark, and we don't want something like this. This is not like a pure water, so we need to make it a pure water. So I'm going to go to the cycle settings, which is the object property. Then on the visibility, on the ray visibility, I'm going to turn off the transmission. So once I do that, you can see that we are seeing the water very much clearly, and this is how water should be. Okay, so now when it's just, let me take it back here, and let me just view this from the render. And I will just set this as a holdout for now, and also the view film here, I'm going to turn on the transparent, just so we can see everything properly. Okay, let me drag this to where the water, and I'm also to turn off this transmission for the second one. Now you can see that it's seamless. You can see where it join anymore, and you can just cut off anytime. And this is exactly how to do this effect. You can just click here, then just take it into one collection. You can just call it tab. Okay, then save this as holdout. Alright, and you can set HDR, then do the rendering. Okay, now let me just set up the HDR lighting and render this. So I want to show you how you can do that. I know pretty much most of you guys know how to set up HDR light environment. So I'm going to go here, environment map, then plug it here. Then I'll open, then I will go to my directory where I normally save my work. So I'm going to look for it. Yeah, this is it, and I'm going to choose the one I use. Let me see if I can, yeah, this one, and I'm going to click here, then turn on back the environment light. Okay, so this is how exactly I do it. So I'm going to give it a quick render, which is a one single frame render. Let me just check the render. Let me just leave it at default, the render image. So I'm rendering this, rendering straight at the same time recording this video. You can see that it's done, and it took 14 seconds to render this, which is really fast. So let me just show you how you do it. You can do the composite. I'm going to go to the composite in here, turn on use nodes. Okay, so press shift A, go to the input. Now add a movie clip. I'm going to click here, add my movie clip. So I'm going to merge this with the render. So I'm going to press shift A, color, the alpha over, then this will be at the bottom. Now you can see that this is showing up. So to mask out this place, we need to go to the motion tracking section. I'm going to change this. I'm going to press tab to change it to mask session. You can click here, then choose mask if you want. Then I'm going to start masking. Click here to add new mask. So I'm going to start masking. Okay, so I did only one frame just to show you for the tutorial. Okay, so I'm going to press Shift A again, go to color and add color filter. Let me just search mask. Yeah, I'm going to click here this top icon, then choose the mask, and when I view this, you can see here I'm going to drag it to the factor. So by dragging to the factor, you can see that the water only appear on where the mask is, and we can invert that. So I'm going to click here, Shift A, color, then select invert node, just plug it. Now we can see that the scissors is outside where the mask is, and this is exactly how to do it. So now you can just finish your mask, then render your video, and that's all. So I like this video and it's very much helpful to you guys. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.